everyone, and welcome. I'm Suman Cherry, CEO of Cherry Talent Group. Cherry Talent Group is a people solutions business. We help our clients hire and keep them, and also how to manage them, all while doing this on an hourly consulting model to keep our costs low and also to be able to align the right people with value. And today, I'm so excited to have my guest, Kendall Pouland, with me. Kendall is the founder of Build Better Ways. I have been stalking Kendall for quite a long time on LinkedIn. It was a really funny story because I saw her on one of my clients that we work with, and I was like, who is this? I want to work with her. So that's how it came to be. Kendall brings over 18 years of construction experience, including her time at a large Houston-based general contractor, where she did everything from running major builds in the field to leading innovation, training, and systems behind the scene. Now, through Build Better Ways, she helps contractors scale smarter through structure, SOPs, and streamline operations. Kendall, we are super excited to have you here. So tell us about yourself.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm super excited to be here as well. So Build Better Ways, we do a few things. We help with SOPs, we help with construction with technology, and we help with scheduling, which is an important thing for contractors. But it's kind of all about continuous process improvement, and we only focus on the construction industry. So it's really important to us that is our focus, primarily commercial construction. Across the U.S. My background, I have a degree from A&M in construction science. I spent 18 years at Tellefson, working my way as a project manager, senior PM, and then eventually tech and innovation director, making sure that everybody knew the right way to do things. And I started Build Better Ways a little over 3.5 years ago, and it's been wonderful.
Awesome. Well, let's start with the human side because we are a human business at Cherry Talent Group. So what do you think's really stopping leaders from building the teams they say they want?
I think there's always a lot of fear. A lot of construction companies start as a family-owned business, and they do it the way they've done it, and they just assume everybody else will know how to do things, and then they bring new people on, and it's really scary to let go of that control, because those are going to be your client-facing people, whether PMs or superintendents or even estimators. How can you trust them? And so I think there's a place of fear there that I know how to do my job really great, and I built this business, and if I put that in somebody else's hands, maybe it could spoil my reputation if we don't do it right.
Yeah, and I think that we hear this a lot on the recruiting side is that, I want these value-based people that are going to come into my organization and really take off a lot of create solutions, like, because there's a lot, I know that, like a lot of these leaders are doing so much, so
Yeah.
much that they
Yeah.
don't have as much time to really focus on the business. So I'm wondering, like, when you look at the fear place with people and as far as them being able to put these systems and processes or trusting people, how does that really affect them, like profit wise?
Mm. Yeah. If let's say you have an APM, right? You bring on some new hire, he's an assistant or she, and if that person can't get up and become a really valuable member of the team really quickly, if it takes them, 6 months or even 4 months to really get their feet under them, that's too long, right? Like, why? That's one way that we can improve profit. If people are making mistakes, that's obviously, and that can be a big thing. Maybe we're having to pay to expedite something because we didn't buy it out in time. There's efficiencies in general, right? If we can give people 3 jobs instead of 2 jobs because everything is more efficient, whether that's technology or systems, that's more profit, right? All of that. And then of course, happier clients makes for more top line revenue anyway, which hopefully leads to more profit.
Yeah, and looking at it from like the people side, because we always look, we look at things from the people side. What it does for you as a company when you have these standards and is that your people feel more safe in the environment, right? So then they're more likely to stay. So you're retaining those high quality people. And I think the other side of that is, and we've talked about this, I know a lot, is that it also kind of allows you to see who's not matching those standards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think if we can put some guardrails and give people what they need, then the rest of their time can be spent on really high value stuff like negotiations and, how can we creatively find solutions to these problems? Those kind of things aren't going to be written in your SOPs, right? But if all the other stuff is easy and all I have to focus on is solving the hard, complex problems, then I'm enjoying my job and I'm really getting paid to do the most high value work.
Yeah, and I think you had kind of, I'd heard you say this as well about the SOP as well, is that when you have this in place, then, everyone feels like there's fear around the SOPs, right? Like like we had talked about that. Like, what are those fears around SOPs? Because I think
Yeah.
it's very interesting to listen to. I love this.
Yeah. And for all my visionaries in the room, my Sumans,
Yes,
you know,
yes. And I am always battling these out too
yeah,
over
all you
here.
CEOs who are like, let's just go dream big. The word standard operating procedure, feels like a prison. And it's actually the opposite of that. It gives, I'll be honest, the construction industry has a lot of type A personalities. They want to go in, blow and go, do great, keep moving. They want to do it all alone half the time. And so these processes actually give them the flexibility to do that. I mean, it sounds like an oxymoron, but if they can just follow these certain guidelines, which it makes it really easy to know what's required, and then you get to fill in all the extra stuff that has to happen. Like I said, if we have to negotiate with a client or a sub, that's the stuff that we have full autonomy to do any of that. But our goal is to get this thing responded to within 48 hours. Fine, got it. And now I can go do all the really fun stuff.
Right, because then it lets them focus on what their actual role is, right? Versus having to deal with all of these kind of things that come up all the time,
Yeah.
right? And that's what it really helps with it with that standard process.
Hmm.
And when you are looking at organizations, they call you, where's that aha moment for them where they're like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
ready. I'm ready.
Yeah.
You know?
Um, so I would say one is where they really realize they're the bottleneck. And they go home and, I had a client, he said, I go home at night and I've got 75 invoices to approve. Why? We've got
Yeah.
to get you out of that, right? You're the president of the
Yeah.
organization. You need to be going out and getting work and all of that. And I think that's part of it. Also, if you may have heard the saying, if you're not growing, you're dying. And so if your team is not growing, and maybe that's size, but it could be other things as well that you're growing, you're getting better projects, bigger projects. Um, if, you know, if they decide they're really ready to grow and get bigger, but we can't do it because there's that fear again that we don't have everything in place. If maybe I don't want Joe training the new guy, like maybe he's not the right person, and just having them learn it all in the field might not always be the perfect solution. 100%, I want them to have human interaction and human training, no doubt. But that's not always the best solution or the only solution. So yeah, I think those are kind of the main things. If you're the bottleneck or if you really want to grow.
Yeah, and we see that so much with us as well. It's like, we work with so many clients. We work a lot of owners or leadership teams, and they're going home at night and like they're having to go through resumes on their
Yeah,
evenings or on the
right.
weekends. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Did you build this business so you could do everything? And I think that's a really important piece, right? I feel like this is probably true of me, and this is probably true of yourself. We both started our businesses around the same time.
Hmm.
And I think as you probably in the beginning you were doing everything, right?
Hmm.
And same with me, but as you evolved, you've had to put these standards in so you can
Hmm.
hire the right people to be able to take that stuff off your plate, because how do you have opportunities to do these types of opportunities, to not to just be
Right.
doing your business but being growing your business, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Um, I don't know. Go ahead. I had a
No.
thought. It's gone.
Okay, I have like a million other
Oh,
questions
I
I
was
want to ask
thinking,
you.
I mean, are you ready to take a month off? I was talking to a friend yesterday, and if you can't take 2 weeks off or a month off, like, then why did you become a business owner, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you should be able to have that flexibility and feel good about it.
Yeah.
You know, your spouse isn't freaking out because you're working the whole time that you're on vacation. That
Yeah.
should be your goal. And if you can figure out how to disperse all of the other stuff and trust that they know how to do it, then you're not doing it right.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because I actually had recently we have a new client that we brought on, and I said, "Well, what is the reason?" He's like, "I went on vacation and I couldn't go on vacation." And I was like,
Perfect.
"I'm done. I'm done. Like I can't not go on vacation." Like it's just and that's true. Like it is such an invaluable piece because if you are a leader, you should be able to. You're holding a lot of capacity, you're doing a lot and you're handling a lot. So you should be able to trust your team so you can go on vacation.
Work
And
hard, play
there's
hard.
so go ahead, I'm sorry.
Work hard, play hard.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And I think there's another side to it. I think when you don't have those standards, I mean, I think it creates chaos, right, in the environment as well. Can you kind of give me some ideas of like where you've seen that kind of play out? I know I've seen it on my end, but I'm curious because you're so in the business with them.
Yeah.
Where do you see that kind of play out?
Yeah. I think a lot of times people will start, let's just say you've got an assistant project manager and they're working for a PM and it's a really good PM, but he's so busy on his projects that now this APM is like in sink or swim mode. Like, oh my gosh, I have to do this all by myself. And so the PM goes and says, "Hey, I'm really busy. Can you handle closeout?" And the APM's like, "Sure." And maybe he's a rock star, but
Right?
still, if this is his first time doing something, that feels like chaos,
Yeah.
right? That he's like, I don't even know where to start. And
Right.
so then he spends 2 days just trying to figure it out. Um, or maybe he's got two PMs and they're telling him to do it two different ways, right? Either
Exactly.
one is that is not a good way for your people to feel empowered. And if that's a rock star guy or girl, we want him to feel safe, to the word you
Right.
used earlier,
Yeah.
and empowered, and everybody wants to
Yeah.
grow in their organization and in their, personal career.
Yeah, because we talk to so many candidates, and some of the candidates that we talk to are not in the market. We do a lot of passive searching, and all of our clients want the top, right? And why are they leaving? And I think it's so important to understand it's not about money. It's not because they're already making good money. Maybe it's a little more money, but it's more about what we're talking about. They don't feel safe. They may not say that in words, but they feel that it's chaotic. They don't feel like they get direction from their leaders. They feel like there's toxic middle management leaders that nobody knows are creating toxicity. And I think what you just said is so true. They've got multiple managers telling them multiple things to do in multiple ways, and then they get in trouble. And they don't even know how they even handle that. So what they do is, do they argue? No. Do they do their job? Yes. Are they high value and stay there? Yes. And then they slowly resign. And the thing is, they're not actually even putting their jobs out there. We're just approaching them and they're like, yeah, I might be interested. And their reason is usually because it's growth, expansion, chaos. They're doing the job of multiple people. They've got some type of leadership. They don't see opportunity. And I think having those standards really shifts that, right? Like having those standards in place, those SOPs in place.
Yeah, I get the question sometimes regarding SOPs. Should we should everything be visible to everyone? I'm like, yes, I think it should be full transparency. This is what a project executive's job is. This is what an intern's job is, and everything in between. This is what accounting and payroll's job is, because we can all hold each other accountable, and we know who to go to for certain things. And so they can look and see, my dream is to be that person in 2 years. What does that look like? What does that mean? What do I have to be good at? And so now, I mean, even if I highly recommend having a plan of how they can advance their career that's more structured. But even if you don't have that, I can just go look at that person's job description or all of the different responsibilities that they have within the standard operating procedures and know that's the stuff I need to get good at.
For sure. And I mean, And I think the thing is when people start businesses or are growing a business, there's never this, they want that for their people. They want intentional culture. They want their people to feel safe. They want people to stay forever, right? They want people to grow. It's not like anyone's going in there like, I want to create a toxic environment where people feel chaotic and feel like they're going crazy all the time, right?
Right.
No, nobody's trying to do that. But what happens and what we see is that, which is great, companies start growing, they're at a certain place and it worked when they're at a certain place. They get to
Yes.
the next level, which is awesome. You've got the next level of clients, the next level of revenue, the next level of this. Everything has to move next level, right? That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Um, what do you feel like is the number one thing that leaders need to stop? I know we talked about a lot about this, but the fear piece, but like really, what is the number one thing that leaders need to stop doing today that are really affecting their businesses, business as a whole?
Yeah. So I know project firefighting is important. I understand that leaders have to solve problems. But if that is all you are doing 40, 50, 60 hours a week and you aren't blocking out time to work with people, um, that's such a huge mistake. Those are your most important assets, in your company. And so if you feel like all you do is solve project challenges all day, every day, you've got to figure out how to back that up and to intentionally put time in your calendar for one-on-ones, for building out professional development programs, for documenting or, training, whatever that looks like. But as important as projects are, you have got to block out time to do more than just that too.
Right, because that connection piece is so invaluable,
Yeah.
right? Your people need to feel like you have their back, that you have time for them. And I think this is a really hard thing is we see, and I've seen in organizations, ones that do this very well and ones that maybe struggle at this more. So the ones that do it really well, the leaders, most of the time, the reason they can do it is because they have great SOPs and they get have good structure and they have trust in their people. So they're not, because how do you do it all, right? You just can't.
Right.
And the ones that really this connection thing where we have a lot of, people are leaving. It's like, why are people leaving? I don't know what's going on. And I'm trying to do all these things. I'm half the pizza party. Why are they still leaving? Kind of thing. I mean, it sounds so terrible to say, but you know what I mean. It's more than a pizza party, right? Um, it's like, what is that really? And really what that comes down to is what you're talking about. It's when you put these things in place, when you put those standards in place, you put those values in place, when you actually put that on paper, I think that's really important as well. And when you even the technology, all the things as it goes along, it frees up your time.
Yeah.
And it frees up your time to connect with your people. Because what Kendall's saying is so important. Because that piece, and we see it so much with what we do, is that that's what candidates are really wanting, employees are really wanting, just to be heard, just to be seen. And obviously, the other part of having those standards, and we really recognize this as well, is that it really helps to understand, we've talked about this a little bit, who's working and who isn't. Like, because you have those standards, the ones that are rising to the standards, it's really easy to see it because when you
Yeah.
have them, the ones that aren't, it's super easy to find out, right? You can
Right.
really point it out very easily.
Yeah. How are you going to do that one-on-one or that performance review um, effectively if the employee comes back and says, I didn't know we had to have that done, within 48 hours, or I didn't know that your expectation, was that we process 10 of those a week, whatever it might be. If you don't have that down, that's not a fair conversation. And so at least the first time that it comes up, you have somewhere to point and go, we see that you've been falling behind a little bit on whatever invoice approvals or whatever it might be. Over here, you can look and see this is our expectation. And if if there's going to be an issue, let us know. And now they can move on.
Right. And I think it allows taking away from this like accusation place where you're like, oh my God, they didn't do it, to more of a place of curiosity around it, right?
Yeah.
Curiosity, like maybe there's just a deeper thing. Because sometimes, and I think this is a really important piece too, is that we'll have clients say, well, I don't know why they didn't tell me they were unhappy. I don't know why they didn't tell me something wasn't working. But that's the thing. They're probably not going to tell you always. They're
Right.
not. Unless there's a, like you were saying, like, unless you have transparency, unless you
A
have true
relationship.
authenticity in a relationship, right? Because they're not going to feel safe to do that.
Yeah.
So then that's your opportunity to ask questions like, why aren't you doing it that way? Like, what is the misunderstanding? So
Yeah.
maybe it has nothing to do with they were just taught that way
Right.
and they just, or they just thought that was the right way to do it. So it
Yeah.
gives you opportunity for curiosity. And then what it does for your people, it empowers them. You're
Yeah.
like, hey, look, I'm not blaming you. I'm taking responsibility. Like, hey, we didn't show you this. So let me
Mhm.
take that responsibility. But moving forward, this is how we're going to do it.
Right. And you know what? Maybe something is broken in the system or in the
Yeah.
process. Maybe what we used to do doesn't work, and there's a reason that something has changed or shifted. And so that's why kind of our focus is on continuous process improvement, that you don't get all this done, and then stop and then publish this book. That's not how it works. It is a live, living document, and we have to be willing to go in on a, I would say, monthly basis at minimum and say, we've got to tweak some things. All right, now this is a better way to do it. And now that we've got bigger jobs, we need to do it this way. And so that is, I think as leaders, you've got to be open to go, we didn't get it right the first time, or what used to work isn't working anymore. Let's fix it and kind of retrain everybody on the new expectations. How great would that be if the person who, told you why they weren't doing things per the standards, if they told you that I can't get it done because of this reason, you've you've listened to them. They are now heard, and you have updated the whole entire company's expectations accordingly.
Yeah. And I love that because you know what you're allowing as well is connection with your organization. And in order to have this, in order to be able, and what we're talking about, like you were saying, what's the number one thing they have to, like, what's do now? Why is this relationship piece so important? Because then you can allow this.
Yeah.
You can allow yourself, your people to be honest with you and to say, like, hey, because they're in the trenches, right? Like and it happens all the time with my recruiters are like, no, Suman, this doesn't work. Like, we're going to do it. And I'm like, okay, let's have a conversation around that. Like, let's, and so we'll shift things or we need to add this into our SOP or we need to add this piece or we need, and that happens all the time. Right. And I think it's really interesting. And I know for me, when my partner was like, we need to do this, like we need to do SOPs and all this stuff. And I was just like, oh, and it really wasn't as scary as I thought it would be because like it kind of to talk about your process around that because I think this is
Yeah.
very interesting because I think people might be like, okay, I want to do this, but like how much work is it going to be? And then we hear this a lot of times on the
Yeah.
recruiting side too. So
Yeah. I,
yeah.
I meet a lot of leaders, business owners. They're like, I know I need an SOP manual, but it's on the back burner. Like I've tried multiple times, I can't get there. So yeah, we have a very structured process. It's customizable for sure. But yeah, we start out with a kickoff meeting. I can tell you if you're a GC construction company, and we work with self-perform specialty trades as well, but I pretty much know what most of your processes are, right? But we're not all that different as far as the list of processes. So we take the list of processes, we sit with you to help prioritize which ones are the most important ones that we get done immediately. So either they're high pain, they're high risk, they affect a lot of people on a regular basis, right? So if it's something that's being done daily, that's really important. We often start with project startup and project closeout and change orders. Those are some big ones that
Mhm.
people struggle with. It's not the same for everybody, but figure out what our top 5 high priority items are, and then everything else will get done. But we got to figure out the priorities first, and then we do discovery meetings to ask questions and listen to what is your process. So let's say we're doing project startup, and maybe it's the president and your best PM. They're going to tell us all the things, like brain dump. All you got to do is show up. I will lead it. I will manage all the rest of it. Brain dump all the things that need to be done and how it should be done, who and when, right? To document all of that in the SOP as part of a discovery meeting. Our team does all the work as far as writing the SOPs, publishing them, putting it, with a nice pretty bow around it. And then we get a bunch of those done, and then we train employees, and then we add kind of more of the lower priority ones and rinse and repeat.
I love that.
Make
So,
sense?
it's so, And it's the same thing when people reach out to us as well. Like they'll be like, I'm ready to hire, and then we can't get them on the phone. We're like, but I'm so busy. I'm like, but yeah, but like
You have to show up.
that's why you need to talk to us. And it's the same. Our process is the same. We're like, you just gotta show up for that call.
Yeah.
Let us understand what it is. We're just gonna ask you a lot of questions. We'll create it all. And then we'll do it everything, right? So, but I think it's that fear, right? It's like that. I need the support. This is why I'm in the problem, but but I don't have enough time to stop to
Yeah.
fix the problem. So I'm just creating more of the problem
Yeah.
on the
But
other
I
side.
think most of us, if there's a meeting on the books, I will be there, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
on my
Yes.
to-do list somewhere, honestly, there's a chance it won't happen. But if I've got a meeting booked with someone else, I'll be in the room. And I think that's true for most people.
And I guess I'm curious, like, so once you put these things, the SOPs in place and this process in place, and so how can companies be really effective about making sure that the training that they're training
Yeah.
them and they're because this is the because a lot of companies have the SOPs, but it's like,
Yeah.
are we following up? So what does that look like on the other side?
Yeah. So we have a system called Engage, Track, Repeat to help make sure. So, for example, and we've got all kinds of ideas. Some of them are really fun, some of them are more data driven. But from some of your technology, you can get the data to see, let's say it's daily logs, superintendent's doing daily logs, and you've written the SOPs. You can get that data out of your PM system to understand if it's being done. And then some of it is more like, maybe you do a monthly training. And so you already have your all hands meeting where you're covering whatever's on your agenda for that. Throw in one SOP. So every single month you do a refresher on the SOPs. I always say, whatever we call your playbook, like your ops manual, it needs to be part of your vocabulary. And that takes time. It does. But if people keep coming with questions, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that, the answer should be, did you check the playbook? Did you check the playbook? Did you check the playbook? Or let's add it to the playbook. And eventually everybody knows that, oh, that's where it is. That's right. And you're going to get new technology. And when those things change, you update the playbook and you let everybody know it's in the playbook, right? And so it just becomes part of the team's vocabulary. We also have some ideas kind of where it's gamification and more fun. And so, yes, you're right. It's not a one and done, turn it over. It has to be brought up in meetings and some other different ways. And we've got some cool ideas to do that.
Yeah, when it's the same way that we are about the recruiting, right? So we help them find those people, but it's like, okay, great, but how do you keep them, right? So that's where the onboarding comes in place, and I know structure on the onboarding, but also connection, the relationship building. Like we always work with, we do that as well, but we talk about it to our clients. We say, look, you have to imagine this person's walking in, they don't know you. They don't like, and we talked about this before, like they're a new kid in their school. Like
Yeah.
you're a new kid in the school, like they don't
Yeah.
know you. So like it's your opportunity for them to feel safe from the very beginning because I think that's where the disconnect happens. To be honest, I think if onboarding isn't done correctly and there's not that
Mhm.
connection piece, and like what you said before, you can do it right. Have those SOPs, they're gonna be profitable faster. They're getting to their job quicker, which
Yep.
is
Yep.
great, right? But the other side of that, there's another side that happens when you don't have it. And this is something that's really true. Like when you don't have standards and you don't have process, you don't have a culture. Your culture isn't intentional. So
Yeah.
what happens is the people who are the loudest in the room and may or may not be the people that you want to emulate your culture, they
Mhm.
become your culture. And so when your new people come in, there's two options. They either gravitate towards that, whatever that is, that click,
Yeah.
the popular gold click or avoid click over there, which may or may not be what you want, and then that's
Mhm.
going to build it, or they're going to disconnect pretty early on, and they're going to be like, this isn't what I signed up for. That's why you see that people leave pretty quickly from organizations, or they'll stay and not be engaged.
Yeah.
Because when you're not engaged, what happens? Like, right? Then they're looking for other jobs and they're thinking. So, what happens in an environment when there's not engagement? Those people become toxic or gossipy or unhappy. And then they're complaining to everyone all the time about the business and all those things. And it becomes a cycle, right? Of
Oh, yeah.
dysfunction for
Yeah. I
sure.
think that's great insight. I think that's really great insight.
I mean, have you seen like when you've worked with organizations that maybe had more of that and then shifted, like have you seen that? Like there's some big wins for you around that?
You know what? Yeah. I think my favorite is when we start putting systems in place and then we have the ability, the trust to grow a little bit. I've gotten to see a PM become a senior PM and become VP of project management. And I got to watch that, and I'm 100% sure that wouldn't have happened, at least not as quickly, if they didn't have a way for him to offload some of that stuff, right? Delegate and elevate. And if he can't delegate that stuff because there is no system in place, then he can't be elevated. And so that's always my biggest win. I'm seeing not only the president gets elevated because now they're doing bigger visionary stuff,
Yeah, I love
but
that.
even the lowest level people are constantly moving up because everything is there for people to understand. Once we bring somebody on, they'll be good to go. I'll train them, they'll have their SOPs, and I can take a promotion. Right? I
Yeah,
mean, that's
and
what
I
we have
love
to
that
get.
because you give people opportunity of choice, right? Because not everyone's going to take the choice to move through it, and that just is what it is. And then they'll burn out and they won't stay with your organization. They may
Yeah.
just not be the right organization because you're raising your standards, right? You're
Yeah.
raising it. You're asking them to take on more
Yeah.
of this specific part or, and I love that too. We have so many stories around that as well. We always feel so great when we bring in candidates for our clients and we hear about their promotions and we hear
Yeah.
about the next level and because we
Yeah.
have really amazing clients that do have these systems in place because I think clients who have these systems also recognize the need to have help with recruiting in HR as well. This
Mm-hmm.
kind of goes hand in hand, wouldn't you say?
A
Like it's
hundred
kind of
percent. Yeah. And, it's funny because I think initially it feels like people and an SOP, like that's so boring, and then that's so fun and squishy, and so they're like
yeah,
separate, but they're absolutely one and
they're
the same, and
together.
the processes are there to support the people,
Yeah,
and it is not there to handcuff them. It
no.
is there to make sure that they have everything they need to do a really great job. And I believe, just from the humanities side, that most people want to be really great at their
They do.
jobs, right? I mean, we all hear that you're at work more time than
Right.
you're at home. And so, how can I love my job? I've got to be good at it, right? And so, I think most people want to be in a spot where they're really good at their jobs.
I mean, it's so true. I mean, we talk to just so many candidates and they don't want to leave.
Right.
Like typically they love the leadership. They love their upper leadership. They're like, "Oh my God, they're amazing. That's what I came in for. I
Mhm.
love them." But they're like, "This is one person or these two managers or this one thing, and I just can't get past this because nobody's doing anything about it. This person takes up the most space in the room. They're having the most issues with this person. Everyone else is following everything and this person's not and there's no opportunity for me because that person won't allow them because they keep putting more and more stuff because usually the person who's maybe not as valuable or has lower value they're also not doing their job so
Yeah.
someone else is having to do it right
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
so
100%.
so it's so, and like you were saying, it's not separate. There's no, you can't have one and the other. I always say with my business, like our recruiting business is the heart of our business. It's our people, it's our connection part. And then our HR standard side of it is more the structure, the nervous system of the business, which you
Gotcha.
need both, right? You need
Yeah.
both. So organizations can't have, because what happens when you and this is I'm not going to say this is personal me personally but I'm just going to say like in the past maybe this was way when I didn't have the structure because I've had another business before when I didn't have the structure what happened I overgave I took on too much I didn't let people go that needed to be let go because I felt too personal about it or when things weren't going well I escaped I hid away I didn't want to look at it
Yeah.
because I was scared, because I was fearful. And it's scary to have so much responsibility. So not having that structure and knowing what's going on is just, I mean, to me, I mean, to be honest with you, not having that was detrimental for me. I failed because of it. You know what I mean? Because it just, and so when I started my business this time, I was like, nope, I'm not doing,
Learned.
no, yeah, lesson learned. Um, I mean, we've talked about so many great things. Is there anything we missed? Because we've like been talking so
I
much.
was just thinking, what I was just thinking about was your reputation. Most businesses, and for sure the construction industry, but most businesses, your firm is built on reputation.
Yeah.
And that's how we get more clients. That's how we do an awesome job. That's then how it's easier to recruit, I'm sure, right? If this company has a good reputation in the market. Um, and if you don't have systems that people can utilize and follow and be held accountable to, how do you ensure that that great reputation stays that way?
Yeah,
And so if you
true.
grow too fast, that's an easy way to get yourself in trouble, right? We decided to go into another city. We decided to take on a project that was twice the size of anything we'd ever done before. That's where you can get yourself in trouble, and it doesn't take long for that reputation that you've worked so hard for, to kind of tumble. And so making sure that we've press pause, spend a little time making sure that we've got this stuff in place so that all of our organization, is going to ensure that we keep this awesome reputation going forward as we grow or expand.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is so important because, and I know I love the Chick-fil-A reference. I love talking about Chick-fil-A because they love
Yeah.
systems. They have like you go there, you're going to have a similar experience, right? It doesn't matter, and that's what we all want for our organizations because we want your clients or anyone interacting with your company to have a similar feeling when they're working with you. That even as you grow and you get bigger and you have more people, they still feel heard. Your clients feel heard because when you don't have that like you're saying the quality because I watched this whole thing about why does Chick-fil-A, they sell the similar foods at other places, but why is it they're so much more profitable? Why do they make $2 billion more than everyone else? And really it comes down to it's because when you go to that Chick-fil-A, it doesn't matter how big your order is going to be, what time of day it's going to be, that experience is going to be similar. And that's what clients are looking for, right? When they're
Yeah.
working with companies as well.
Yeah. And I mean, I can promise you, Chick-fil-A has a checklist for everybody and everything they do has a checklist. But do you feel that as the customer in the drive-through? Absolutely not, right? It doesn't feel like things are too structured, right? Part of their checklist is to probably say with a smile, you know?
Yeah.
And so you have a great customer experience because all that other stuff is written down and followed. And so therefore
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
delivers straight into what the client sees firsthand.
Because the thing is I think you and I have talked about this as well, and this is something that's come up is, you know, if you don't have a standard process all the way through, your whole process could have been amazing. Everything could have been amazing, but that last piece got chaotic. The
Yeah.
client may still gotten the end result, but that last piece felt
Yeah.
bad. There you go. They've already have
Yep.
a bad taste in their mouth from it,
Yeah.
and you don't even know that happened. You're like, why didn't they ever call us again? We
Yeah.
did what we did. Like, we built this beautiful thing. Why didn't they ever call us? Because they had one at the end. It
Yeah.
was a little bit messy, right?
Yeah. That's so funny because job closeout is one of the first processes everybody wants to cover because of that reason, right? It's the last thing
Oh,
the customer sees. There's a lot to do. There's a whole lot of stuff that we got to get right. We
right.
don't do it every day. We only do it once per project. And so making sure that last piece, that last couple months is really, really streamlined and feels like we actually know what we're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Even when and that's the thing, when we're growing, obviously sometimes you don't know what you're doing. You're just going with it. But having these standards help you to be able to have at least a direction. And you can redefine them, and you can change them as you go, but it gives you the feeling of at least you have some structure around it, some balance, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have one more question before we jump off, guys. But all right, if anyone's listening to this and they're like, "Oh my God, I don't have any of this. Like, what am I gonna do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?" What would you say the first place they should start with? Like right now, today, they could do today to help
Yeah.
themselves.
Okay, so if this does sound like something that you know you need, but you haven't done it, I think the first thing is to think about all your departments. That's not hard. You probably have, 6 departments or so. Think about what are their core process. What are the most important things that they do? And those should just be like 3 to 5, not a ton. Then pick within each core process what are the actual things that they do? What are the real processes they do every day? And then rank them. We do high, medium, low. You can do 1 through 10, whatever you want to do. Figure out what that list of processes is. That's step one. I can give you that list if you contact us, at least to give you a good starting place to think of. And then find some SMEs to help you, subject matter experts, right? Don't feel like the president or the VP of ops has to do all of this, right? Yes, you should 100% touch it, look at it, review it, but you don't have to be the one to do all of it. So go find some people that you think do each of these things really well and tell them, I want you to just do your best to document, how this works. And I think that's at least a good way to get started. But again, if that sounds really, really scary, we'll do basically all the work for you. You just got to show up. But I think the one thing I want people to walk away with is you have to invest in your people, whether that's your time, your energy, or, maybe it's some of your budget. But part of investing in your people is making sure they have all the tools they need to succeed and to grow. Put yourself in the shoes of, back when you were a rock star project engineer, or assistant something, what would have been so great for you to have? And there's a lot of things, and maybe it's a mentor, but 100%, I don't know any organization where they're like, I don't need to have directions. I'll just figure it out.
Figure it out.
There's some things they will still have to figure out, but if they can at least have that starting point. So that's what I would
Yeah, I love that. And guys, like, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we have a business, we want to make money, right? We want to be profitable. And what we're talking about, the things that, Kendall's talking about and I'm talking about is going to make you more profitable. Because
Yeah.
investing in your people, it's going to save you a lot of money with having to keep training people, having that revolving door all the time, having the wrong people on the wrong side of the buses, all the things, because
Mhm.
without your people, you can't grow in the way that you want to.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
And how can they get in touch with you, Kendall? If they're ready, like, you know what, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Kendall, like, let's
For
just get
sure.
started.
Buildbetterways.com. We've got a contact us form, or LinkedIn. You can find me. But yeah, I'm happy to have a no pressure conversation to just understand what your goals are and where you're at right now. And we'll meet you where you are and figure out what your next steps are and when the time is right. So I'd love to chat.
Awesome. Well, Kendall, always so
Thank you,
much fun to talk
Suman.
to you.
This was so
It
fun.
was so
I
much
really
fun. I
appreciate
always
you.
love Kendall and I can literally talk about this. We've gone to lunch and we've talked about this for hours and we talk about this, but we're just both very passionate about people
Yeah.
and we want organizations to grow. And we just know that by putting those processes in and putting those as, whatever that looks like for you,
Yeah.
and having a better understanding of that, that's going to also help you go on vacation. I think we talked about that. And help your people have more trust in the process itself. It's going to help you root out the people who aren't aligning with your culture, and it's also you're gonna make more money. So that's all
Yes,
good.
more money and a better culture.
Yes, better culture, more
Two
fun.
great things.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.